Not so good news. Another week has gone by and no express entry draw in sight. The last actual express entry draw that we saw was in the end of the month of April of 2026, and today we are sitting almost in the last week of May 2026. The only last draw that we saw was 11th of May, and that was a PNP only draw, which is PNP, right? I mean, like, if you remember back in the day when IRCC stopped taking express entry draws for all the other categories, they still took out PNP draws because they are under the provincial federal agreement. I don't really call them express entry draws, but yes, because they generally have a separate category, they don't mess with the ongoing clients. So that being separate, even French draws, the last one was in the month of April. So technically in the month of May 2026, no express entry draw which you can utilize as an applicant. What is this? Is this IRCC skipping express entry draws, or what's happening in the background? Like, have they stopped taking people in? Is there a pause? Is there a moratorium? Do they have space? What's happening? These were the questions that were popping into my head, and I got down to it. I looked at the numbers, looked at the immigration levels plan 2024, 2025, 2026, 2027, and I started digging into the numbers. Until this morning, I realized, yes, the numbers are not looking good and we might be in for a big surprise. And the surprise, like I said, is not so good news. Hence, I said bad news. Guys, in this video, we will talk about IRCC skipping major express entry draw cycles, and entire month of May so far, we haven't seen any draw happen. And what is the reason behind it? And what do you expect? Can you expect bigger draws? What exactly is the probable trend to expect? I have done the digging into the numbers. Based on past experiences, I can only comment on the approximate figures. But yes, I hope you will find this video useful in terms of planning for your permanent residency in the future. My name is Sahil, and I'll see you on the other side. Guys, welcome back once again. My name is Sahil and I'm a regulated Canadian immigration consultant, and I practice here in Ontario. My office is here. If you have to get in touch with me, my number is on the screen and the details are there in the description box. More than happy to speak with you. Before we proceed any further, please make sure that you hit the subscribe button and the bell icon, because we talk a lot about Canadian immigration. And if you are an aspirant of moving to Canada, then this is a channel that you must be subscribed to all the time. Guys, today's topic of the day is express entry, and IRCC has started skipping express entry draws yet again. The horrific times of 2025 are apparently back, and this is the second season we are trying to see. So there has to be some sort of a repeat pattern that we can pick up, and that is why I got down to the numbers, started picking up some patterns. Just a quick advisory disclaimer before I go further. I don't have any insights into IRCC apart from the ones that you do get on social media on major announcements. But the only edge that I have is I follow immigration every day, every minute of the day, every second of the day. That's what I do. Hence, anything that happens, any announcement, any numbers, all of those things, I do get some insights into it. Having worked on immigration for the past several years, that's my nature of business. Hence, I have some sort of a context in the back. We do get into some conferences every now and then. We do get to hear from the horse's mouth. Yes, putting all of those things together, I will sort of do a light prediction, although I hate doing predictions, but it is important to make a prediction today. What exactly can you expect? I might be wrong. I am humbly apologetic about it if I prove to be wrong, because the predictions that I'm going to make today are not so good. Hence, if IRCC proves me wrong, I'm gladly I'm gladly going to accept that I'm wrong, because at the end of the day, people will get draws, right? So if IRCC proves everybody wrong, they give people invitation, I'm the happiest person. But overall, it is important to understand the practical scenario, what to expect, right? Overall, the reduced frequency. So putting context to things, IRCC held their last French draw on April the 29th or 28th, I remember, 2026. That was a draw, and the weeks before that, IRCC had been holding consistent back-to-back draws. We did see, up until before April, we did see a lot of high volume CEC draws, something where people were expecting that, okay, the number of draws are going up, number of CRS points are going low. We went as low as, I believe, 507. and people were all happy and merry about it. But then suddenly month of April came in and IRCC started reducing the number of CEC, Canadian Experience Class draws, and that is when things got very, very serious. Fast forward to today, the number of CEC draws has gone low. The number of category draws in the year so far has not been amazing. The only category that has received full benefit is the Francophone category, the French speaking category, and the regular PNP draw. So those are all the draws that we have seen so far in the year of 2026. The bi-weekly draws thankfully are still continuing. So every 15 days, every 2 weeks, we see a draw. That thankfully cycle is continued. But if it's only a PNP draw, you would rather want to call it technically pause only. Okay. So with that idea in mind, there is one more thing that you have to understand before I get to the numbers. IRCC generally invites people in a particular month. They take a processing time of approximately 6 months, and then they expect the person to land in the months after. So a processing cycle of 6 months is generally taken into consideration. So if you're invited today, so today is, for example, you're starting up with the month of June, right? So if you get invited in June, you can expect to get your PR approved somewhere in the month of December. You might land in December if you are inside Canada, which you're assuming you will. But if you are in Canada, if you get an ITA invitation to apply in the month of July, your landing will happen mostly in the month of January. Okay, so for that purpose, we are taking cycles from July to June. Okay, so what really happens is if you are invited in July of 2026, you are a landing person in 2027. Okay, so that's one. Second fact that you have to understand is every ITA can have more number of landings. So an ITA is one person, and one invitation has a family attached to it. Sometimes there are 4 people, 5 people, 1 person, 2 people, all of those things. Average, what we have seen is that every ITA will fetch approximately 2.33 number of people landing. So anywhere between 2.2 to 2.5, and then an average would be 2.33. So one invitation in Express Entry usually has 2.33 number landing out of the immigration levels plan. Now, when Canada publishes its immigration levels plan every year, just like they did in the month of November 2025, they said we will be inviting approximately 350,000, if I remember, 350,000 permanent residents. So that does not mean 350,000 invitations. That means 350,000 landed people. Okay, now if you talk about Express Entry specifically, in the 2026 plan, rather, the 2025 plan that was updated, renewed, they said we will have 109,000 landed people coming out of Express Entry in the year of 2026. So just to put targets into context, 2025, we had 41,700 people in federal economic priorities and 82,980 people in the In Canada focus. All put together, approximately 124,600 people were supposed to be landing in the year of 2025. 2026, initial target as per the, because then things got serious. So initial target was 47,400 plus 75,830 in Canada. Total 123,230 people were supposed to land as per the immigration levels plan of 2025 for the year of 2026. Now, things got serious. Canada went into elections, and the new government, so basically Mark Carney government, not new, technically Liberal government, they said that we want to bring in fewer number of permanent residents into the country. We can't have the previous number. So chuck away the previous immigration levels plan, bring in the new immigration levels plan, which is much more strict, tough, scrutiny goes high. Hence, the total number of high-skilled people, which includes Express Entry, is now going down to 109,000 people. So in the year of 2026, we are expecting 109,000 people to be landed as immigrants. Not ITAs, immigrants to be landed in Canada in 2026, which is approximately 15,000 lesser or 14,000 lesser than the previously predicted number. 2027, we are expecting 111,000 people to be landed in Canada. So just to recap, 3 main numbers. 2025, 124,000 was the previous number, 600. 109,000 for 2026, 111,000 for 2027. All put together, we are sitting at close to roughly over 344,000 680 people. So for these particular years, okay. So that's the landed number of people within express entry. A couple of other federal high skilled criteria as well, which I'm not assuming because they don't name out specifically, but I'm saying purely express entry, Canadian experience class, federal skilled worker, federal skilled trade, and then we have categories as well. So this is the number that we're looking at, categories as well. Overall, if you look at PNPs 2025 and 2026, 2025 the number was 55,000, they had put a cut, but in 2026 they pushed that number to 91,500. For this purpose of our video today, I'm keeping that 91,500 number separate. That is not a part of the number that you're seeing. French overall, IRCC said that approximately 9.5% of the population overall will be invited, okay, for giving benefit of doubt, being all positive, giving IRCC some credit that, okay, they might want to invite a few or more Francophone speaking people. I am assuming in the year of 2025, 31,500, I'm just taking pure absolute percentages out of the whole 350,000 people. I'm just taking pure numbers. So it was 8%, 8.5% and 9%. So 31,500 in 2025, 30,000 people in 2026 and 29,000 people in 2027. Put together, that's approximately 91,000 landed immigrants under this program to be expected in these 3 years. How many invitations are we seeing? In express entry so far, between July 2024 and May 2026, 2 years, approximate, a little less than 2 years, we have already seen 84,000 invitations. If you look at pure math, 91,000 people to be landed, 84,000 invitations already happened till date. I think French draws are pretty much landings are pretty much done for this year. So anybody who gets invited, so don't be surprised. The French draws will continue, but July onwards or June onwards, these people who get invited are mostly supposed to be landed in 2027. So no, I'm not saying that the French draws will stop, not at all. They will continue, but the landing should ideally be targeted towards the 2027 quota. Whether it will continue or not, because the number that have taken 84,000 people get refused, stuff like that. So we will see lesser number of French category draws. At least this is what I think. Coming over to actual figures of express entry invitations, minus PNP draws and minus French category draws. Okay, so now we are talking about numbers, minus French, minus PNP because they are accounted for separate quotas. Pure CEC, FST, FSW, categories draws, managers, transportation, STEM, agriculture and whatnot, all of those categories, well, not agriculture, the other ones, all of those put together. Now, let's look at year on year. Between July 2024 and June 2025, IRCC held 51,700 ITAs, okay, invitations. Assuming out of these invitations, 20% were wasted, okay. We assume that 20% of these ITAs were either refused, withdrawn, or wasted, not eligible and whatnot, did not pass the R10 check, okay. That particular number leads us to only 41,360 useful ITAs, which means out of these 41,360 ITAs, people actually landed in Canada. It's a very conservative, decent number, and this number is actually referred to the IRCC presentations across and our NCIC forums as well. So this is not an odd number. Putting 2.33 landed people to that 41,360 people, we would have ideally seen approximately 96,369 landings happened in between 2024, like the draws between 2024, ideally in the year of 2025. This would have been the number that we would have seen in the year of 2025. People would have landed. If you look at July 2025, which is last year, till May, which is today, technically till April, because the last meaningful draw that happened for express entry categories was in April. Between that, 79,141 invitations have happened already. That's a huge number. That's a big number, which means minus 20% because people might want to withdraw, people get refused all the time. 63,313 ITAs we find them useful. Okay. Within that 2.33 landings, multiply that, approximately 147,000, a little over that, 140,000 people. So let me we can do the math quickly here. So we have 63,313 people into 2.33 is approximately 147,520 people, 510 people landing in Canada in between 2025 and 2026. Okay, so technically, whosoever gets invited today would ideally be landing within this year, before the end of this year. That's the ideal situation, because files do get spilled over to next year. Anything that goes beyond the 80 percentile data would go forward as well. But roughly for the purpose of understanding and making a prediction, right? Because prediction is never accurate. You don't have insights into the data. If I get access to the data, we can make an exact assumption. But right now, based on these two figures, 147,510 this year and 96,369 last year, that's a total of 243,888 landings that should ideally happen before December 2026. That's an approximate number. Okay, that's not exact. Let's look at the quota once again. You remember I said 2025 quota was 124,600, and the reduced quota of 2026 was 109,000. Put those together, that's 233,680 people, minus the actual landings based on the invitations that have happened so far. And this is, mind you, this is only April. We haven't stepped into June yet. So far, 243,000 people are expected based on the number of ITS 2.33 minus 20%. That number, we are on a spillover of 10,000 people already when we are sitting in the month of May. Okay, let alone the quotas and whatnot. 2026, we are already on a spillover of 10,000 people, and we still have the month of June to go by. Let's put 2027 into context as well. Well, why not? We can. If you look at 2027, this is so far the number. So technically for 2026, the landings are done. If anybody gets invited in June, technically the person should land in 2026. But what we are seeing is that the quota is already spilled over by approximately 10,000 people, right? So, which makes me think that how can IRCC have more higher CC draws? It is not possible. Where will they accommodate? The landing figures and the landing numbers are already done for. Okay, there can be a couple of thousand people here and there, but 10,000 is still a large number. So my first prediction is that we are already spilled over for the year 2026. Up until June, I don't think there is a lot of action to be expected, because if anybody gets invited in the month of June, ideally a 6-month period, the person should be landing somewhere close to December. It might just not happen because they're already on a spillover. The invitations that come July onwards will be for people landing in the year of 2027. Okay, and now in 2027, we don't have a lot of room available, because the total number of landed immigrants to be expected in 2027 is only 111,000. And remember, we already have a spillover of 10,000. Take that spillover, we are left with only 101,000 people to be brought in from express entry. I'm not taking French category as of yet. Please remember the number I haven't, even if you take 8% out, the number is still very horrific. So I would say only 101,000, and we are keeping Francophone categories separate. We are not saying that it is going to bite into these categories. We are assuming that Francophone has a separate quota altogether, and we are fine with that. We're absolutely fine. We're only talking about express entry numbers. So 101,000 is the quota left for 2027. Total number of cycles left in 2026, approximately 20 cycles, assuming that you start in the month of June. So June, July, August, September, October, November, and December. So 7 months, approximately, I would say 20 cycles, if not more. If it's more, then the number will even go lesser. But assuming 20 cycles, give or take, they skip one. And based on the previous historical draws, we have seen that between July and December of a particular year, approximately 47% of the forward quota is withdrawn. Okay, so based on that, because to hit 101,000, IRCC should take out 45,000 ITAs. So between July of 2026 and June of 2027, IRCC should hold approximately 47,000 draws. It's 47,000 ITAs, or rather plus 20%, you can say 55,000 ITAs, because you have to add 9,000 more for that. So approximately 56,000 ITAs minus 20% is 45 and add 2.33, you're looking at an approximate 101 to 104,000 people landing in 2027. Which brings us, because only 50% draws, or approximately 47% draws can happen this year. I'm assuming this year, before this year ends, we should see approximately, say 50% of those. So, out of the 56,000, so 28,000 draws are expected, 28,000 ITAs are expected in the balance of this particular year, out of which we are supposed to hit target for next year and all of these numbers. So if you divide 28,000 people by 20 ITAs, or if not more, that number is approximately 1,400, right? So 1,400 people to be invited every cycle. And if they start holding a bigger cycle on a particular month, on a particular draw cycle, then you can expect the forward draws to go lower. And right now, just a reminder, we have categories left. Most of the categories have not been invited yet. We have CEC left. We still have French to be invited. And all of those, those invitations have to go through managers, transportation, all of those things. I'm not sure if CEC has a lot of room. Hence, the news here is that do not expect a lot of action on express entry in the balance of this particular year of 2026. All those people who had these hopes that the CC draws or the CC points would go low, my prediction or my assumption or my numbers don't tell me that is happening. I could be wrong, and I'm happy to be wrong, because only then IRCC will invite more people. So if I'm proved wrong, more than happy. I have no grudges. In fact, I'm happy that IRCC is inviting more people, because it's good for our business as well. But overall, I think the number of, practically speaking, realistically, the numbers are not pointing that great. Don't expect a huge action, and the worst is yet to come. So we are not done as of yet. The worst is yet to come, because next year IRCC may start introducing the changes that they have decided in this particular year, or they might start working towards the changes on 2028. So the next year might not be that exciting. They might only just wrap up this year and the early next year and be done with it, because then they will have to bring in the new changes as well. So yeah, like I said, a lot of changes are happening in express entry. Not a lot of action is expected in this particular year and the year of 2027, if IRCC is trying to make a lot of changes. But yes, in terms of these are all approximate figures. Like I said, we don't have exact figures in front of us, and IRCC does not disclose data openly on who's getting invited and what number is rolling over, and we don't have an up-to-date landing number, because these numbers can be off. But yes, this is what I think is happening, and anybody and everybody who's having high hopes for express entry, I think keep your hopes limited, and be surprised if you are invited, and do make the best usage of that particular draw. All those people who plan to drop a draw and then hope to be invited in the forward draw, get an invitation again, all of those things should be avoided at all costs. If you receive an invitation, do make the best use of it. Don't let an invitation be wasted. Documentation, any professional assistance, if you reach out to us, we can also help you in putting your file together. But yes, do make the best use of an invitation. Do not let it go waste, because you never know when is the next invitation coming around. Guys, I hope the video today was helpful, gave you much insights into what's happening in the world of Canadian immigration. And if you have anything to discuss with us, please feel free to schedule an appointment, and we would be more than happy to speak with you. Once again, we wish you all the best, and we really hope to see you soon in Canada. All the best.